still hear me, but
Oh yeah, I can hear you, man.
okay, good. Because I didn't know that when I did this with Aaron through my phone, and I set in front. I just before I had my camera, and I wasn't sure if he was hearing me or not. All right, gonna go back to. All right, just make sure. Okay, you're still good.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still good,
Okay,
man.
good. What I have to do when I do this is I have to go into the YouTube app from Zoom, and then if I don't back out of it and go back to Zoom, there's feedback,
Oh God.
and so it creates that echo effect. So, all right. Anyway, so kind of shot the intro, so I'm just gonna say I'm joined by JT. For those that don't know, he's the one man band Six Scars, and if he doesn't mind me saying, also Killbait Overdose.
Yes.
Releases to be determined from that one. So,
Yeah, yeah.
how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. It is a rainy day here in Virginia, and I'm ready to just kick back and relax, brother. How about you?
Same. Sunny though here, no rain.
Hey,
Yeah. It's about 52, 53 degrees. So,
Every time we talk about weather, I just want to knock you out, man. I swear.
what can I say? I prefer what you have there over the sunshine, though.
I mean, normally I don't mind it, but today it's just been torrential downpour, and I got
Yeah.
soaked on the way back home. So,
I hope that bike you got helps not get so wet on the commute back.
so here's a fun fact about that, man. I rode it one day, the one day I got it, and the front wheel got screwed up, and nobody around here will touch it because it's an e-bike.
What about who you got it from?
I tried. It's a brand off of Amazon, and their customer service is about as good as you would expect from a non-reputable one, I suppose.
Yeah, I've been
It
there with Amazon a few times.
it sucks, man. It's put me in a bit of a tailspin, but I'll get over it. I got like a $800 porch ornament out there now, so
Yeah. Well, if you don't get that fixed, it could stay a porch ornament and you can maybe try a different brand, maybe shop local.
I'm thinking about just trying to sell it to somebody at this point.
Yeah. Go get a moped.
Dude, I used to have one. I had a 94 Yamaha Riva, and man, that
Yeah.
thing was awesome. I took the limiter off of that, and I got it up to like 60 miles per hour one time.
Moving. That's great. Yeah, I used to hoof it around town before I drove. I didn't get my license until I was almost 24.
Ah,
And yeah, I just didn't have an urgency to, until met the wife and she was like, "You go get your license now." And I'm like, "Okay." But yeah, I would walk miles and miles here in town. It's just people always go, "Why do you walk so fast?" I'm like, "Well, I'm used to walking, and so it's just my
hmm.
natural speed. You walk everywhere, and you just kind of outpace everybody."
Yep. Yep. And see, with epilepsy, man, it's tough. Like you can try and get a moped around here in Virginia, but it has to be below, I think, 50 cc's, and you still have to have insurance on
Uh,
it. So it's just a little bit more of a rigmarole.
yeah, I don't. You make the most of your situation, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think I've known anybody else with epilepsy in my lifetime, or maybe I have, but eh, I don't know how you do it sometimes.
It I don't I'll try not to say too much about it, but it's just, you learn to deal with it. I've been diagnosed with it since I was a year old. Uh I got I have what's called complex partial seizures, which is like the best way I can explain it is that feeling you get when you stare at the sun for too long, like
Yeah, I
how
think
your
so.
eyes cross. I get that about 10 to 15 times a day. Um, and then I can also have what's called grand mal seizures, which are the convulsions, unfortunately.
Wow.
But I recently, about 6, 7 months ago, I got back on a medicine for it. So I mean, it's iffy, man. Epilepsy is just a really hard thing to deal with. Sometimes it's finicky.
Yeah. Well, I say make the best of your situation is about all you could do and just
Oh yeah.
manage. So, um, But I would assume that your hobbies and like your passion in music helps with that too. So
It does, man. It
yeah.
like a lot of the time I'll just find myself focusing on my hobbies and like you said, the music and everything, and it kind of tends to distract me
Mhm.
from it. Because if not, man, like I'm just like anybody else in that regard, where you focus on something too long, negative, and it's gonna affect you.
Absolutely. It could be just small things for me, and next thing I know, I'm just like, well, man, life sucks.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so easy to set me off, unfortunately. Like on that, I call it the spiral staircase.
Yeah,
'Cause it's never ending for me. Like one little thing goes wrong out of my routine, and it's like the gates, the beaches of Normandy were flooded.
yeah, that's relatable. I think to a lot more people than you'd think.
I hate it for him. I really do.
Yeah. Anyway, oh, is that so? Um, he made me lose my train of thought here for a second. So, hey, this new Six Scar stuff,
Mhm.
been a long time coming, huh?
Yeah, man. It's the follow-up, technically like the follow-up album from To Wilt and to Bloom.
Mhm.
To Wilt and to Bloom was I got some interesting feedback on that one, which that's what I was looking for. I was wanting people to kind of like it's a very sporadic album, just like me. Like that's just how I am. I think you've listened to most of it.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like there's not really one track that stays the same. So that kind of follows through with this one, but this one, um, I think for me personally is a lot deeper. Um, the some of the tracks, which I mean, we could break it down if you wanted to and go track by track at that point, but like some of the tracks, man, they were hard to release.
I can imagine it's being vulnerable.
Yeah, oh, very much.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but from the people I see that do these kind of interviews, man, they never talk about the pressure of releasing something that vulnerable because it's like, people online, like you shouldn't care what people think online, but man, they can be brutal.
Yeah.
And
That comes
it's
with the territory.
oh, absolutely. And I mean, you get what you give basically.
Yeah.
But I do hope that I hope this album, I don't want to say is well received, but I hope that it can provoke some thoughts.
Well, for the people that'll get it, it will. But for the people that it won't, that are more consumed by comparisons and critiques, it won't reach them. So,
Yeah.
um, those are the ones. Though I don't remember who it was. It's a band. I think it might have been a guitarist or one of the other members of this band. Don't remember the name of them. They're long time defunct, but he said something about how a lot of folks will say ignore the negative, and I'm not saying there isn't truth to that, but at the same coin, he also said sometimes that negative could be some of the most constructive in a sense, to where these people might be picking you apart, but maybe some like in between all the other like insult or degradation or whatever, there's some stuff that you might be able to hold on to and kind of help cultivate your craft, you know?
Yeah.
So you could go the route of ignoring all the negative, which, frankly, I advise just for the fact that, you could grow just as much with the positive feedback, especially with the people that care to see you, grow as an artist and, a singer, a writer. Um, so I don't know if you care for me to say this or not, since because I have heard your
Go
new
for it. Go
baby,
for it.
um, I do hear a substantial amount of growth in regard to your singing, your delivery, and just especially with being able to open yourself up as much as you have with this, batch of new songs, which I believe there's six of them on there.
Yeah.
Um, and frankly, it's also more focused. I noticed when I was listening to it, there's a lot more cohesion there, don't know if that was deliberate or not on your part, or like something you were constantly thinking about when you were doing this and sending it back and forth with who you had mixing and doing your, the other bits of it. But I definitely felt damaged quite a bit. That's a great track, man. Like, it's
That
very powerful, and it speaks to a part of me that's like, you know, opening yourself up and writing a vulnerable track like that. And it's not even the most vulnerable track on there. You're talking about being damaged and all that. Um, just, I want to applaud you for going the route that you did and taking your time with it instead of rushing it out, like a lot of bands tend to do. Like, I don't understand how, like, you put out an album and then 6 months later you're putting out another one. You know,
yeah, I mean, look, there's some people that can put out content and music that quickly that is powerful. Like, I mean, for me, I'm just not one of them, man. I sit and I stew on tracks. Um, Sometimes obsessively so, and sometimes to the dismay, I guess would be the right word, of my own mind, because
yeah.
I'll sit there and just analyze everything. I'm like, should I add something here? Should I add something here? And it's like, no. Like, sometimes the track is just perfect the way it is.
I was gonna bring that up. I wondered when I was listening to those 6 new songs how much, how many times you had it going one way and then said, "No, I'm gonna start over from scratch again and then build it back up."
Oh
How
man,
many?
okay. So in all transparency, the instrumentals are by an amazing person on YouTube. His name is Andy Con Beats.
Mhm.
I've used his for a few years, and he's absolutely phenomenal. But another Scar in particular, buddy, I have like 12 freaking demos of that song, and they're all just like completely different until they finally built to the actual end. And it's like the very first one to the actual mix and master of it, it's like, buddy. The vocals were completely different. Like, they were much more of, which I mean, obviously it's a shoegaze metal album, so like they were much more faded back and distant, more like Whir and Bloody Valentine style.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, no, it needs that front punch in the face kind of for the verse to go into the chorus. And then I was sitting, I was like, man, it's still missing something. This was a couple months after I recorded it. I was like, what is it missing? And then I don't know if you caught it in the bridge, there's like a reverse delay effect
I
where
think I might have caught something like that.
so that's actually the whole part of I want to rewind, I want to live my life, I want to be free of the pain and the strife. That's literally reversed and then delayed going throughout that entire chorus.
Hmm.
Um, but I was like, I needed something. I As soon as I heard it like that, I was like, yes, because that kind of portrays the mindset I wanted of it. I wanted it to be like I'm dealing with what I have now where I'm procrastinating getting my life started again. I'm dealing with the stress of beginning anew. Um, and I'm like telling myself, like, dude, get off your ass, basically. Like, get off your ass and move because time doesn't wait, dude. Like,
For
so
anyone.
no. And sooner than we realize, man, we're in the dirt. Like, that's just kind of the way it goes. Like, we blink and we're there. And that bridge part, man, for that one in particular, like I get chills thinking about it just because for me, that's me signifying like I can't rewind it, but I can still look forward to what the life is.
Yeah. That kind of awareness, I think, is a good thing to have. I'm obviously still consumed with aspects of my past, and you as well.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with, as long as you're not living in that past, revisiting and drawing from it, whether for purposes of growth.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, for me, it's always that constant, just being better than what I knew. Just that constant awareness. And I think you battle that, pretty much every day. We've had discussions on Messenger about your state of mind and stuff throughout the years, and just you know, just that struggle, inner struggle, you
Yeah,
know. And but you're still here and you're still fighting that good fight,
I'm trying,
and
man.
there's a lot of that kind of mindset throughout this new stuff too. Like you're fighting that fight, and this is you right now, you know. And which brings me into, I wanted to ask what your mindset was when you're writing Damaged from the start.
That like you said, man, it stood out to you, and I'm glad it did. But man, that one took its toll to write. For me, it was I was in a relationship and things really fell apart. Ended up, it was 2 years with this person. And I'm not saying it was a waste of time. Don't take anything like that. But the end result was me losing the home that I lived in, losing the animals that I was used to having around, losing the structure and everything. And Damaged, the first verse is it's a little bit of inside look at it, but the first verse is me talking. The Obviously the chorus is me telling them that they are damaged from the start. The second verse is actually them talking to me. Um, but my mindset on that was I felt like I was at the time very used and discarded. I felt like I was sacrificed to somebody's for the betterment of their own needs, if that makes sense. Um, Trying not to be like too negative because it's just I man, I sat there and wrote that, and the chorus especially, the part where it's like, upon the cross you died for me, a fallen angel to set me free. It's basically saying that I treated this person like a savior, and it turned out that they were the worst thing that I could have ever encountered. Um, and therefore made me damaged as well, even more so than I knew I was.
Been there.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. You write about a lot more relatable stuff than you might think, and it's gonna reach more people than you also might think it will. Yeah, you're very small time, you're very underground, you're very obscure, but the people that your music finds are the people that need to hear it, whether it's negative or positive that they get from it. Whether they want to call you a Jonathan Davis ripoff, which you say you've been called. And
So
like I
many
said,
times.
you can't help the kind of characteristics that your voice has. You know, you embrace it,
Yeah.
and like I said, I don't tell people when I show them your music that you're like this phenomenal vocalist, right? That's not what I pay attention to with anybody that I listen to. What I pay attention to are those unique characteristics that add an atmosphere and a feel to a song that comes across as genuine,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you do. So I'd pat yourself on the back for that because, I remember looking back on some of the stuff that you'd send who will not be named, you know, like I remember one in particular is Dead Man by We As Human.
Oh
You,
yeah.
you remember that? Even way back when I saw that, I'm like, this guy's probably down on himself as far as like what his vocals sound like, but he shouldn't be because what he has is going to be the perfect fit if he does his own music or if he just does covers or whatever. And hopefully he will realize that and just cultivate it, which I
It
think you have. So,
Man, I won't say pat myself on the back. I hate that, man. It just sounds so like
ah.
self-aggrandizing, but it's like I will give myself credit because man, for the last year and a half, I have busted my ass on learning different styles of vocals, not just harsh, but like my cleaner tone, trying to open up that top registry, which can be a bit of a pain sometimes because I'm naturally like,
Yep.
lower, obviously.
Yeah.
I sent you that one track that, I can't discuss right now. But
Yeah, I
it's
know the one.
yeah, it's a very typo negative style voice. And so it's like I trying to learn how to open the registry and do what I want to with my voice has been a journey of its own. And I'm still trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. You never will completely.
No, dude.
But that's the smart thing, that what you're doing is of exploring every facet or side of your voice that you can, right? Don't just do one thing with the music you're releasing. Try those new things even if they don't stick or work,
Hmm.
you know? So, I'd say keep doing that. And maybe one day you'll put out what will not be spoken of and people will hear it. Um and But I mean, I knew it in your voice without you even doing it, that you were capable of it. Which I think you're capable of a lot more than right now you might realize, you know. And then I don't just say this to build you up, I don't believe in, feeding people things that you're just wanting them to hear because it sounds nice.
Yeah.
Which people do that, but I don't. That's not something I've ever done, with anybody. Like, I don't believe in sugarcoating or um
Blowing smoke.
blowing smoke, right? Or just like giving people the wrong impression of themselves or me as best that I can. Um so I mean, heck, yeah, I think we should do a kind of like a track by track breakdown if you feel up to that, because that was
Yeah, dude.
kind of the point of why I wanted to hear it before I did this, so I could see how much of my thoughts matched up with your hey buddy, what when you were in the process of making
Hmm.
these songs. So if I remember right, after that would be Dead Nothing, right?
Yep.
So that to me, like, okay, so Damage from the Start, Dead Nothing,
Dead
and
muffin.
Dead Muffin,
The muffin man.
Dionysius, they all to me kind of sounded like a conversation about a relationship, right? That's
Yeah.
how they came across to me. So and just like mistakes and then hindsight and and stuff like that. And I may have gotten the completely wrong impression by those songs, but they kind of almost felt like a pair of songs that continued something. And then the last two tracks were like an outcome,
Yeah.
right? So go ahead and break down Dead Nothing, which I love that riff on that one.
Dude, that's
I love
such a sweet little riff, isn't it,
it.
man?
Yeah,
Like
it's pretty cool.
I heard that and I was like, oh, I've gotta do something with this. Dead Nothing is well, it follows the theme of damaged. Um, it's feeling used, it's feeling like you're a part of somebody's betterment for themselves, but not for you. With Dead Nothing, it was like I was waking up to realizing what they were doing to me. I was waking up to, like the gaslighting that I would go through and things like that. And it's like there's a part in the bridge where it says, use me like a sacrifice, drain me of
Yeah.
everything that made me feel alive. Um, that part, you can read between the lines, you can interpret it however you want. For me, that went to just draining my entire being trying to be with somebody.
It's
Um,
exhausting.
it is. And I mean, I want it to be clear, like in case I don't think they'll ever listen to it, but like I harbor no ill will. Like it is what it is. It's in the past, That's how I look at it. But this was also my catharsis, and in my catharsis, they kind of ended up looking like the worst kind of thing. But um, for Dead Nothing, man, that was actually a late bloomer for the album. It was between that and a few unreleased ones that I was thinking about putting on it, but Dead Nothing just fit the structure, like you said, this one has much more of a cohesiveness to it, and that was deliberate. It's still sporadic in different styles, but I wanted that occurring theme that somebody could follow from start to finish and be like, I just heard the story of a heartbreak and the outcome of it, just like you said.
You accomplished it.
Then I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's one of my standouts. I believe I said that. Um, Wait, did I? I'd have to go back in our
No,
message
no,
and
no.
think.
You said
I think it was damaged,
damaged,
Dionysius.
Dionysius, and then we'll get to the other one that you said. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. For me personally, like I think this is definitely my favorite batch of songs from you. You
thank you,
know,
man.
like honestly, like all the imperfections of it, the flaws and stuff like that, just elevate it. You know, you definitely flex your voice more on this one. You definitely like you. I think you were conscious to the cleaner side of your voice for this release. You
Yeah,
still do the harsh stuff, but there's a lot more of the clean and melodic side, which I was wanting on some, other releases that you've done, and that it existed on those, but not in the capacity that this one had. And the style, the showgaze style, I think, honestly, in my own opinion, favors your style of vocals more than what you've done so far. Not that the stuff in the other styles that you put out doesn't suit you,
mhm.
does in its own way, but this showgaze stuff, I think, complemented your voice just to me better. Maybe that's just because it appealed to me more for with my particular um why am I failing to come up with the
Like
word?
your taste, your preference.
Yeah, my taste and preferences
Yeah,
for it. And it made me excited to hear maybe other little secret gems that you've been keeping in the vault for future releases where you felt maybe insecure about putting it out, because which I feel like that probably exists.
oh,
and
dude, I
it
have so many.
and which, I think it's good that you're doing like this EP format instead of doing like 10, 11, 12 track albums, right? Just less stress, creatively. Yeah, I can't talk today, dude. But I
It's
think
the
you know what I
coffee.
mean. Yeah. Um, it helps the burnout not be so strong
It
in between
does.
releases. So,
Well, I
um,
mean, you were just sorry, I didn't mean
no,
to
it's okay.
you were just talking about the whole album process, and it's like Proprioception was originally gonna be the album that I put out, but I creatively bankrupted myself on that. It was supposed to be a whole story. I had an artist lined up. I had everything. It was gonna be a story, a comic, like you name it. Um, and for a while it was kind of gonna be the last thing that Six Scars did. Um, but man, I creatively bankrupted myself on that, and I got so burned out that I couldn't write. And I was like, I got to step away from this. I got to do something different. Um, that was, geez, I started writing Proprioception like right after To Wilt and To Bloom. And then all those tracks except for what was it? Damaged, um, was going to be on Proprioception, but that's the only one out of the batch that I used. The others are still here. I don't know when I'll ever get them out, if ever. But
When the time is right.
well, I mean, sometimes there's just that music that as for me personally, I'll look at and I'm like, do I want to release that one? It's like,
Uh-huh.
do I feel 100% okay with that being out as my name, my creative? Like, for me, you got to have at least, well, for me, I will say, but you got to have accountability when it comes to what you put out, because like your name's attached to that, dude. Like,
Hmm.
if you're not
Yeah.
proud of what you're gonna put out, how could somebody else enjoy it?
There's a lot of truth to that. Catatonia's done that. Like the Night is the New Day album. Originally, so that album was created on an already finished album that they scrapped. that they felt like wasn't a good reflection of the band at that current time. And so they have a full album that'll probably never see the light of day because they didn't feel like it would have been it would have been a disservice to their fans and to themselves
Hmm.
first and foremost. So I agree with that maybe that will never see the light of day, and that's all right. I'm not going to pester you for it, you know.
Not
But
on here anyway, right?
right, well, I mean, I was going to say that I think it's still healthy to at least not completely shelve something and just leave that what if on the table.
Yeah.
Because you never know if 5 years from now that JT will look at that and maybe hear something from it and go, you know what? The times for this feels right. And just maybe kind of maybe do two songs at a time,
Yeah.
right? And then release. If you fear that it'll like creatively bankrupt you again, set boundaries for yourself as far as what you put out, and don't necessarily put a time frame, but just don't let yourself basically run with that leash
Yeah.
because you're going to find yourself you know,
Yeah.
kind of
Oh
like you
yeah.
see dogs do when they think that they're not on a leash anymore, and then they reach the end of that line and it jolts them back, you know.
It's
So
like I have so much respect for people that can put out quality music and lyricism. And I mean, Pat's one of them, dude. Like he doesn't put a single thing out that I'm not like, how? Like
it's
how are
crazy. Yeah.
he's so good. Like freaking free ego boost here for Steve. But
Yeah.
like he's one of the main ones that I always think of. He's constantly releasing EPs. And for me, if you look at it, like I released what Sleepwalking in June. Um, and then after that, I did Out of Time, which was like a creative, different uh venture, which was about Barfest. So we won't get into it, but that's what inspired that song. And but no, like I wanted, I used to want to keep up with the algorithm, right? Because like that's how you get quote unquote seen. And it's like, no, screw it. Like I'm gonna release things on my timetable when I want. And look, whoever enjoys it.
Yeah.
It's like it's not up to me.
I feel like I said that to you a lot over the years.
All you have.
You know, just like screw when people want something and screw trying to keep yourself seen
Hmm.
because you kind of lose perspective of what it's really about when you get so wrapped up in that.
You do.
Like I so like for my stuff that I'm doing for these interviews, there's bands that I haven't gotten back to yet for scheduling the day that I'm going to do their chat. And part of that has just been work. And then also like somebody, and I hate saying this, but somebody that's someone I really look up to and admire getting back to me and saying they want to do it. And so I'll make that more of a priority of something I already
No,
didn't
no, I mean,
set.
yeah,
Like the good thing is it's not things that I set an official date for. So I don't feel like I pushed them back when they had a specific time I was going to do it, you know. But I'm trying. You talked about accountability, and I'm trying to be as accountable as I can for this because you were technically supposed to be the third that I had, if you remember, because I announced Matt, and then
hmm
I announced I was going to do Crane from Stone Side, which is the singer, and
hmm
then it was supposed to be you, and then it was supposed to be Sever Red. Those are the first four that I was supposed to be doing, and now you've been the third, and then not real sure who's going to be the fourth at this point. Could be Pat. It could be Chris. You know, it could be David from Element 80.
Man,
He's
that's gonna be
agreed
such a
to,
good one.
yeah, he's agreed to doing one, but he said up front that he's a really busy guy.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying not to make myself too stressed out about how long time has been between doing something. And I'm glad to see that you're doing that now a lot more than you used to, and just letting it flow and come and be put out when it's time. Um, you're gonna find yourself breathing a lot easier, keeping that kind of work ethic. I don't know if you want to call it work ethic or just structure going with your
Structure, yeah.
stuff, you know. Um, I think we got off on a tangent there, didn't we?
Yeah, my bad. We were talking about Dead Nothing, and then we just kind of diversed into
Yeah,
a
we were
bunch.
gonna segue into Dionysius, which that one
Yes.
also sounded like something. I was sitting there listening to it, and I couldn't help thinking of Deftones and the capacity of horny music because it sounds like you're describing the passion side of a relationship and be that connection and stuff in metaphors.
hmm
How accurate is that take on that?
Oh, it absolutely is, man. It's basically saying that we had a love that was equated to Greek gods and goddesses. Um, and the way it burned out is basically, another, like the chorus where it says another fallen star shoved into the sun, referring to the relationship itself. And then, obviously the other part of the chorus, which I know we're on YouTube, so I'll be a little
Ah,
bit, but
they haven't censored me so far. Besides a Simon Says song I had playing in the background when Matt came on for the second part, it completely like it just made it bleeps and bloops. So I would just say whatever you want to say.
fair enough. Well, then, where it says, you burned like a rocket, you fuck like a goddess, my Dionysius, my Odyssey.
Yeah,
Um, so if I recall correctly, Dionysius is actually a god of Greek mythology, but I used it as like more of a euphemism slash
yeah. I was
metaphor.
gonna say it sounded like a name I had heard in mythology for
hmm
stuff. So
He was basically, if I recall correctly, the god of partying and lust. So it equated to just how I felt at the time, where I was like, there was this great side of our relationship that died out. Um, and for me, that was I hate to say fun because like it is a heavy song still, but like that was really fun to actually write. And I did something a little different on my vocals with that
yeah,
one. Um, I think I leaned more into, I don't want to say like the Manson type growl, but I feel like with this album I found my growl, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Because if you listen to Wilt and the Bloom, like, not that I was mimicking people, but there was definitely inspiration. But anyway, ADHD brain over here. Dionysius for me was basically saying, all right, this this is what the remains are. This is what I am left with. Like Icarus, we flew too close to the sun is essentially what that song is saying. I'm actually like really, I know you said what your thoughts on it were, but I'm actually really curious to see what other people think about that one too, because I think that can be open to interpretation in a lot of ways.
yeah. Definitely could be. I mean, at first I was also thinking of like, I don't know. I had it and it's gone, but yeah, it's gone.
But you're not
Maybe if I
wrong with
remember.
Deftones' horny
Yeah.
music. So
Yeah. Like, you know what? I think tapping into that side of a person is just as important as tapping into like writing about pain or happiness or memories or anything like that. People shouldn't be afraid of talking about human desire, you
hmm
know,
hmm
like just write about it, sing about it, don't censor yourself.
I
Don't,
agree. And
yeah,
I mean, while we're talking about Dionysius, it kind of slipped me there for a second in my mind, but the verses are more about being a relationship of convenience if you listen to it. Like we'd run for miles till our mouths were dry for that next fix, next dose, next high. And it's like I lost control of everything I needed because I saw this relationship of convenience that would help certain aspects, but not in the long run. Um, and then just kind of being, enraptured in this relationship where it's like, you move your hips as your lips touch mine, and it's like I lost touch with everything because I was so wrapped up in what I thought was the the outcome of what I wanted versus how it actually was.
Yeah. I've been there, not as far as like a romantic relationship, but if you
Mhm.
remember last Sunday when we did our other
Yeah.
one, I talked about a friend that I quit on, and that was a friendship of convenience on this person's part, right? I knew that he was just using me as a means to making himself feel better without having a concern about the impact it might have on me, you know, basically making him feel it was okay to basically um you know the anger that he had, right? No matter what, if it was something I had done, he would just, if I was around, I'd be the person that would be the brunt of it, right? And when I met this kid, I befriended him because I saw he was always being bullied, right? And so, being the kind of person I was, I wanted to befriend him and make him feel like he wasn't so alone. But out of high school, as the years went on, I started to realize that he didn't care about my feelings. He just wanted to feel that normalcy and maybe invalidate people's perceptions, which eventually learned were a lot of them were true about what was said of this guy. And then basically I came to that point, like kind of like how you did, of just like, you know what? I'm not going to be subject to this anymore. So I'm just going to say so long, you know?
Hmm.
So that song's relatable for me in that aspect. You
I mean,
got to draw those lines.
yeah, absolutely. And I hope people look at it like after, if they do listen to the interview here, I hope they can take their own meaning from it as well. I'm always leery to talk about meaning because I wonder if it taints it for the listeners, you know?
Well, I mean, what you talk about is like a common thing with a lot of people that release music is that's why so many people, vocalists or whoever does the writing in bands, they kind of like to shy away from saying exactly what something was about because they feel exactly how you do, that they feel like it's going to just ruin somebody being able to take away from it what they need, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But I just want to say that you could say what it's about, but still leave that, like I've had songs later on where I thought it was about one thing, for me,
Hmm.
that I come to find out is about something completely different, and it didn't ruin anything, at least for me. So, however you want to handle it. You could either be transparent about your song meanings, or you could just be obscure and just say, "Hey, open to interpretation." I don't think there's either one of those is wrong.
I mean, for me, I don't like, it's weird because I'd like to think some of mine are pretty open interpretation. Like To Will and to Bloom, I think was definitely open interpretation
Right.
songwriting. This one is more, I think, distinct, and like we talked about, it has that overarching theme. Um and it's really, with which one are we talking about? Dionysius right now.
Yeah.
With that one, I hope, if anything, that people can derive their own meaning from the words, because just because it's meant for one scenario doesn't mean that it's the only thing that can come out of
That's accurate. I mean,
it.
like that's I mean, we could go round and round about it. That's just the beauty of a song.
Mhm.
It's gonna have a different meaning to every new person that hears it. Not everybody's gonna have the same takeaways from it.
Mhm.
That's why music is such a vital force in almost everybody's life, you know.
Yeah.
Um so and then I feel like I'm forgetting exactly what mausoleum is, right? But in my mind, isn't that something where it's like not a shrine, but like you could go into it and there's just like things put up everywhere of like a fence or
It's like this
right,
massive tomb.
right. So like mausoleum sounded like you're encapsulating things from like the first few songs in that song before the finale hit.
Mhm.
Right. That's what I took away from Mausoleum. It was just like an amalgamation of all that, and then you were trying to kind of make it just set all out on the table. Is that accurate? I only listened to each song one time, so maybe I should have listened to them two or three times, but
No, you're not wrong at all, man. That one was actually written. It was actually the last edition. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was with a friend, and I mean, I'm a weird cat anyway, but we were visiting a graveyard, and I got this idea in my head. Basically, mausoleum is the whole relationship became this not shrine, but it became this tomb.
right.
And we have this we have this weird desire to fill the mausoleum with all of our thoughts and all of our affections. Um, and it actually, to me, that was one of the weirder tracks for the album, because like if you listen to it, it does not match the tone of anything else in the album necessarily.
I mean, it is a bit of an oddball. I mean, I guess I could say.
So in my mind, I looked at it as I was writing from the afterlife already. That's basically like the aftershock of the ordeal that the album has led up to, and now here is a brand new beginning. Um, and then just kind of leaving the mausoleum behind and going forward.
Was Didn't you say so? Were you wanting me to listen to Mausoleum before the final
Yes,
track? Because I
before
did.
the
Yeah,
yes,
because
yeah.
I did. Because I I did the order before I even looked at the track listing. And then when you said that, I'm like, oh crap. And I went back to like, okay, I've listened to these all in order. Like I didn't want to listen to like Dionysius first and then bounce to another star and then from there bounce to like Dead Nothing and then the final track or so
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad
that's
you
it.
did.
Yeah, that's it. It's a really good track though. I mean, it's like the guy that does the musical part of this. In my opinion, he has a good mind for adding his take on you. Do you send like your vocals to him on like the lyric sheets before, or do you just
No,
kind of no?
no. So like again, in all transparency, because that's just how I am. Anikon is one of those rare breeds, man. He will put out a lot of his instrumentals free for profit, literally for anybody to use. That's for streaming, whatever you want. And I've talked to him several times, and he loves what I've done with it. But um, I'll sit there and I'll find an instrumental, man, and then sometimes it'll take a week or two, but other times, like I'm just sitting there writing 3 or 4 songs at a time. Now, this album in particular, it took right around a year, a year and some change to finally nail down. But
Mhm.
I need to send him. I need to send him some of this.
I need to look him up too. I keep meaning to, but I keep forgetting his name.
Oh, I'll link you some.
Yeah,
He's worth it.
because I wouldn't mind perusing his stuff and hearing some like everything he might have to offer if I ever decide to do anything. Because
Oh, he's good, dude. He's
yeah,
worth it.
um, I'm hesitating wanting to get into the big ending of the song because of its subject matter. but like the funny thing was is like I took away of more of a upper note on that song than probably what is intended to be
No,
put across. Because like it didn't sound necessarily to me negative. It sounded kind of hopeful. You know, it's like you're still here. You're not writing this because you're not going to be here. It's more of like, hey, if up until now this is as good as it gets, I'm happy about it. I'm proud of it. You know, um, so and like there's a note towards the end of that song that you hit right. You go higher in your register than I've heard you go prior, as far
yeah,
as I can remember.
yeah.
And that kind of threw me for a bit. I'm like, hey, he did it. You
uh,
know?
so I mean, if you're okay with kind of taking it to a serious tone, then
Yeah.
I'll refrain from some trigger words. So I wanted people to get a uplifting feeling from that track. Because there's a part toward the end where I'm begging them to not become like me if it ever gets that way. And I'm telling them to take life and embrace it and find strength in all the weaknesses. And, so this album, this album was going to be released posthumously originally. Um, I had a designated day and everything else that I wanted to go away.
Right.
Um, that was going to be my final message to the world. Like, don't end up like what I thought I was going to end up as. Be better, you know. And when I am gone, don't look at all the sadness. I want celebrate because through 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 all the hardships that we go through, you can still find ways to make yourself happy, and those moments need to be celebrated at the end.
Right.
It's not like death is a very sad thing, but it's also a very freeing thing, in my opinion. Um, Too many people focus on the negative side of death, in my opinion, where people think, I wish they were here. And I do the same. I wish every
Right.
day that people were here, but we also need to take time to celebrate what they achieved, what they accomplished. And whether that be big or small, everybody deserves that chance to have that celebration of their finale. And that's really what I hope people take away from that song is there's something better to look forward to. At the time though, I did not see it in the cards for myself. That was yeah, that was a rough time, brother. That
You
was I
got to the
was
other side of it.
I did, man, and
Yeah.
I'm honestly doing better than I deserve, in my opinion. Um, but to take it to a lighter note, you were talking about that note I hit, and I know which part you're talking about because, God, dude, I was so nervous for that song just because tonally, like, I don't think I've released anything that sounds exactly like my finale. I feel like that was where I really found comfort in my clean tone, and elevating it into a little bit of a higher register. Um, I actually surprised myself on that one. I went back and listened to it. I was like, wait, that's me? Because I was like,
Yeah.
there's no auto tune or anything. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Um, and then as a side note, and I hope this does not ruin the perfect meaning of the song. So if it does, just edit it out when you put it on YouTube. But there's a part where it says that sometimes it's not, I can't remember the exact word. It's not a choice, it's a reprieve. And then you hear a sound effect. That is, I was living with my parents at the time, and their damn dog barked.
I think
So,
I
so
heard
you
that.
hear
I
like,
kind of
"Arrrr,"
Yeah, I heard that. I kind of go, I'm like, huh? I'm like,
I
what?
was like, son of a bitch.
But hey, look, things like that are kind of like those parts in songs that create those like just good random funny moments,
Yeah.
right? Where like it's not intended to be there, but it almost adds to the song in a positive way. It almost elevates it, you know. It's like because that's just life happening in the background, you know.
Like I was
So
sitting there and I mixed all the vocals on this one and I was like, what the hell is that? And then I heard it, I was like, oh damn it, that's Xander. That's the name of their dog. I was like, well, I don't have time to like no, this was a perfect take.
yeah, hey,
I think it adds flavor.
that is what it is. No, I did catch that. I had a little chuckle about that too. And I was actually, my son came out when I believe I said damaged came on. He kind of came out from his room. He came out to me, just stood in front of me and just kind of looked at me and listened. Then he started kind of doing this sway thing. Then he twirled a little bit. Then he goes back in his room. And then I think he came out in a part of Dionysius. And then my finale, I'm pretty sure he came out. I almost want to say I think is when that noise happened. Like he came out and he's like, "Huh? What was?"
That's
And
basically
he's
the reaction it's gonna get.
so yeah, it's. I'm excited for people to get to hear this because I think they're going to be surprised, you know, about a lot of the things that probably aren't going to be expected. You know, um, it's funny. Like I kept thinking about, was it Chris that was saying something about shoes, or was that Pat?
Can't remember. It might have been Pat.
It was one of the two. Like I think it was because of whoever said that. I kept thinking about freaking shoes the whole time I was listening to the record. On top
Oh,
of
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
trying,
No, it was
yeah,
Chris because he was like, "Does
on
this mean
top
I?"
of trying to pay attention to the words and there's like all the other things along with the music. I'm just like, man, it's
Because yeah,
like
Chris
the
was. Uh,
subliminal influence of the mind.
yeah, because he was like, what exactly is shoegaze? Does that mean I'm staring at my untied shoes?"
Yeah. Or like what I've been doing for the past week, I've been shopping for a new pair of boots, and that could be shoegaze right there.
Look, I mean,
So
I've come to accept that it's a very memeable genre, but man, there's something so awesome about like there's no construct, right? Like
yeah,
you within the confines of shoegaze, like you can do whatever you want. It's if you think about it, unpopular opinion, it's very black metalish in that aspect because of like, there's that lo-fi sound and that's what actually drew me to it in the first place was like there's that lo-fi gritty just not perfect. It's not
yeah.
perfect by any means, and I think that the more unperfect or imperfect it is, the better it is.
That's how I like if you go onto YouTube and you listen to the first two Simon Says records that existed before Jumpstart and Shut Your Breath,
Hmm.
which is it's Little Boy and then Perfect Example are the two records that they did independently before that. And when you talk about like imperfections or like rawness or whatever, um, you'll notice that. I don't know if you've actually listened to any of that
I have
pre.
not.
You should. Like I told Matt that it reminded me of the sound of Adrenaline Era Deftones,
Oh,
like how the guitar sounded, his vocals, the drums, everything,
ooh,
right?
okay.
And it's completely so they probably were under a lot of influence when they did this, but there was no label backing, there was no pressure to sound like anybody. It was just them farting around and recording music. And it came out how it came out. So, and I told him that I love that. I prefer that over Jumpstart. like the way
Ah,
it sounds. And he agrees. No, you'll hear him on the second interview. I don't know if you've watched all
I
the
haven't gotten to
second
watch the second
interviews.
one yet.
I think, pretty sure it's in the second one. There's a point where he says that that's why he hates Jumpstart. Not because he doesn't think the songs are not. It's kind of like complicated of how he tries to explain his feelings for Jumpstart. Like he says, of course it's us, right? But he goes, I don't remember verbatim exactly what he said, but it wasn't the that representation that he wanted people to get. And so when I said that I preferred the first two independents over Jumpstart, he completely understood the reason why. Because it just was them. And that's what
But
Shut Your
yeah,
Breath was too, you
yeah.
know? And so I would say go listen to that. Because I mean I don't know if they want me saying, maybe I shouldn't say, but I know what's being re-recorded.
Oh boy.
So
Oh, okay.
and go back and listen to Jumpstart and go listen to Perfect Example.
Okay.
One of the songs is off of there, as far as I know, that is potentially going to be re-recorded. One of
Damn.
them that's
Okay.
open, one of them that's already talking about, that's already just public knowledge, is Dyslexic Smile.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, you watched the story behind that song and why it wasn't on Shut Your Breath. So yeah, so just you should listen to it. Listen to the old stuff.
I
It's on
definitely will.
YouTube. Yeah, which they are re-releasing. Perfect Example. What I think they said they pushed it back to May or April. I think the label.
Really?
Yeah. Just some things that's going on with one of the guys that run THC Music. Some
Okay.
health issues and stuff. So they've had to push back some things that they were going to put out and yada yada. So um, off on a tangent again, but we were talking about imperfections and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. The imperfection in my eyes is more like a perfection because it wasn't something that you were hyper focused on to make perfect in the first place. So it's more of a true representation of how it was supposed to come out than if you were just trying to get that perfect take.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
I'm not a fan of multiple takes, to be honest. Like there's a point to where you start losing emotion, um, and it becomes more robotic,
Oh
in
yeah.
my opinion, you know? Like for me, those first couple takes, if I can deal with them, then I know those are the ones that should be released because those are the much more raw and visceral sounding ones. And the more you practice it, the more emotion leaves you.
Yeah. A lot of time it's that first take that you end up going back to and using.
Hmm. What was it? Damaged, believe it or not, man, all the way through, except for the chorus, but or no, the chorus and everything. It was all one take, live, and then I cut it up and divided it and everything. But I did all that one in one take.
One take?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That one was a little rough on the vocals too.
Yeah. I went to go through sleepwalking today. I actually recorded some video of it, and my voice is still not wanting to have just the register that you're in that song. Like I still have like phlegm in my throat for some reason. Like it's just not wanting to go away, right? Like
Yeah.
just not sounding how I want it to sound.
Dude, that's how I've been for the last couple weeks, man. I don't know if it's been a cold or what, but every time me and the guys in Killbait have gotten together, like my vocals are just like absolute dog water. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm over it.
There's that joke that's been going around that ever since COVID, everybody's just perma-sick.
I freaking believe it, dude.
Yeah. There's singers and bands that I listen to that have said that they feel like since they had COVID that their vocals have been altered to some extent that they don't think they sound like them anymore and stuff. And I was like, I still don't even know if I ever had COVID, but
So
like,
I
go ahead.
never had COVID, but like 2 months before it became COVID, I was bedridden at my apartment at the time, which what was that, like 2020, I think is like when it actually happened. But I had like basically deathly pneumonia, dude. Like I couldn't leave my apartment for like 3 weeks. Come to find out, like I think all the symptoms added up to what would have been COVID, but before it was actually widespread. And I was like, oh,
Uh,
and I haven't had it since. And I'm like, well then.
it could have been. You never know. You mentioned pneumonia. I don't think I've ever told you this before, but it's common. It's everybody knows this in my family, but as far as I know, they do anyway. But the 2 times that I had pneumonia, both of those times I was almost at death's door. Like I
Ugh,
had such an advanced case, and I think it's either the first or second time my mother had came home and she said I was like a pale gray on the couch, just not moving.
damn, dude.
Rushed me in, and my freaking dad was supposed to be watching me and stuff and making sure I wasn't getting worse, make sure I was, all this stuff. And the only 2 times in my life that I was ever close to death was pneumonia.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I had it
Twice.
was yeah, it was bad. Like that's the sickest I've ever been still to this date. Pneumonia is no joke, man. No
No, it's
joke.
not, man. I felt like I was dying.
You do. It's like I remember not being able to breathe like that. The second time I had it, my airway was pretty much
Yeah.
closed,
Yeah.
and I think I was in the hospital for almost, my mom would correct me on this, but I think like almost 2 weeks, I think. But yeah, just bad. Like I'm not I never want to have pneumonia ever again. Like it was
Yeah.
miserable.
Dude, I
Miserable.
hated it because I think at the same time I got pneumonia, I also had giarditis from drinking
Mm,
too much like bottled water or like mountain water, I guess would be the technical term for it.
eh, yeah. Man, screw all these things that you could catch in this day in life anymore. Every
It's
day you find out there's something new that's going around. You're like, well, that sounds awful.
yeah, and it's like what was deemed healthy just yesterday is now like gonna cause you to die.
Yeah. Yeah. Beware, going outside could kill you. Well, that's a given every freaking day, man. What are you talking about?
Bubble
You can
boy,
walk,
that's what you
yeah,
do.
you could walk outside of your house and the odds might be low and you could have a freaking jet engine fall on you or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You just never know.
Like you can jog every day of your life, make sure you're perfect health, and you get hit by a bus. It's
Yeah. Yeah, or the odds of a feather killing you are extremely low, but a feather could still kill you, you know. You know, you've seen those memes, right? Or
I
stuff like
have.
that, or like a chicken killing you, or like a green like yeah, it's silly stuff. Anything in this world could kill you in one way or another if you're unlucky enough.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But let's go down another avenue here and talk about any what video games you playing these days.
Oh man. I've not gotten to play too terribly many lately. I've been kicking it with what was it, Final Fantasy XV. That's still one of my favorites.
XV. That's my Roman numerals are failing me.
15.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's with like Noctis
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Elliot, stop that, buddy. I got all the way up. Have you beaten that yet?
Not yet, man. I need to.
I'm all the way to the end of that.
Oh God.
Yeah. Like I get like when I play a Final Fantasy game, I'll say, okay, so Final Fantasy 7. I think from memory, most amount of hours I ever put into that one was like close to 500 in one playthrough.
Such a good
Because I
game.
had I spend so much time just going off and doing random things.
Grinding.
Yeah, same thing with Final Fantasy 15. Like I spend way too much time just wanting to check, oh, can I go here? Oh, can I fight this yet? Or secret areas, and just like
Mm-hmm.
things like Titan, or like that big turtle that you could fight.
Yeah.
I still haven't I still want to do that. But I'm so like life is like I still play games, but life has just kind of had its way where like the time I have for it the window just seems so narrow. Like right now I'm playing that Pokemon rip off they call it Paul
All
World.
Pow World or whatever.
But I can't help but play that because so what finally got me sold on it is something kind of brutal is I started out in the area that you start in, and there's like these sheep looking creatures, right, at the starting area. And while I decide to punch it to death, right, I do that. It flips on its side, rolls several yards off of a cliff and into this river, bobs under the surface, and then bobs back up, and then just starts floating lifelessly down the river. And I'm just like, that's freaking hilarious. And
It's
so I just been playing it ever since. And then most recently last weekend, I killed a pal that was attacking my base. And the pal that I had out at the time, because I put all the other ones away that ordinarily are around doing stuff. And I kill this thing, and my pal does away with the body, pushes it off of a cliff. And I'm just sitting there going, did I just witness that? Like, are these mechanics that they put into this game or what?
your accessory now.
Yeah, it was an accessory, but I'm playing that. And then, like, I was playing From Ash or Remnant 2, I was playing for the longest time. Man, and I wish I had a PS5 because I want to get Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Like, people
I
that were purists were tearing apart remake, right?
mm-hmm.
It's like such closed minds, man. Like I like if you want the original, just play the
Play the
original.
original.
The remake wasn't intended to be a copy and paste.
Mm-hmm.
They were upfront with that from the very get-go. Like I could remember like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago when they were being pestered and pestered, and they were saying like a remake of Seven's impossible. But then they would release like you remember the test demo that was released for I think the PS3 of the
Yep.
intro of Final Fantasy
Yep.
7 on that engine,
On
and
that engine.
this is just to show off the capabilities of the PlayStation 3's technology. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, Squaresoft, we know you're working on it. So
Man, I I didn't play all the way through the remake. I know the outcome of it though,
yeah.
so I'm really excited for Rebirth because clearly they're making things way different,
Yeah,
changing
there's
the chronology of it.
yeah, there's a convergence of timelines for sure.
Yeah, and I'm
There's
okay
like
with it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that because a lot of this are ideas they had when it came out for the PlayStation 1 that they couldn't implement because the technology back then limited what they could do. And then there's also a lot of stuff that's new story that they're putting into it, new characters and stuff. Like a theory that's been kicked around is that the Sephiroth that you see in this one is not the same Sephiroth from the end of the original that you confront and kill in the crater. That this Sephiroth is one that's trying to change his fate. And then there's the
Huh.
timeline that where they're saying that it's a Sephiroth that's trying to redeem himself
Well, damn.
and become a hero, right? And then there's the debate of why Zack's in this, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing like that throws me off because
Yeah,
he was like chronologically he was taken out after Crisis Core, right?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, or Tactics. It might have been Tactics, but Like, I'm curious to see how they bring him back and what capacity like he'll actually
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, like I have so many theories, and I'm not saying any one of them are correct or any one of them that some people are saying are correct or incorrect, but I would guess that somebody's guessed correctly about a lot of things, and Square's just saying you'll just have to play it and see. Like does Aerith live? You know, so
I don't.
I say they need to keep her killed off.
Yes.
That's one aspect that I don't think that they should mess with because that kind of sours or takes away from that impact in the first playthrough of the original, right?
I'll never
That
forget.
like I sobbed so hard and for
Uh-huh.
so long after that happened. I'm like, how could they do this?
I leveled her up so much the first time I ran through it because I was like, oh, she's gonna be with me the entire game, and then
No,
I was like, no, why do
no,
you do this? But
yeah, just
no, aside from that, man, I've actually been playing a little bit of Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader.
still haven't played any of those.
They're pretty good. Like, they're not my usual forte, but my buddy got me into it, and I was like, okay, this is actually a really cool story, but it's
Yeah.
so vast. Like, I think I'm like 8 or 9 hours into it right now, just because
Mm.
time is limited.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
like I'm like 3% of the way into it, and that's with doing story, and I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, like that's like Henry Cavill's actually finally able to say that he's going to actually be able to make movies and shows based off of it.
I'm excited, man. I trust
So
him.
I understand why he left The Witcher now because he always said that his passion project is going to be the Warhammer stuff. If he's able to ever bring that to the big screen in any way or like a show, he wants to do it.
Oh,
So
dude,
I'm
yeah.
excited to see how that turns out. Maybe I'll start playing those games as well at some point. Oh man, my knee. Um, I'm an old man.
Locking up on you.
Yeah, well, I've been sitting in an awkward way
I got you,
in
brother.
this. I'm like it's kind of like not bar chairs that we have at the table, but sort of in a way, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
eh, not kind on my body.
yeah.
So yeah. Hold on a second. My wife texted me. Um, any movies you're excited for?
Man, I've kind of gotten out of the movies for like the last year. I
Yeah,
follow a podcast called The Big Picture podcast, and they discuss like independent movies, big movies, you name it. And they said there's something like 57 movies this year that are actually like big releases versus like the one last year, I think there was over 200. And it's just
totally.
because of the strike and everything else that occurred.
Oh yeah.
Um I'm honestly, man, I'm more excited for TV series. Like I'm excited for House of the Dragon, Peacemaker 2, like the second season of
Oh
it.
yeah, I love Peacemaker. That had me laughing
Dude,
a lot.
Italy is everything. Like
Yeah, and I'm also excited for John Berthal. I don't always forget how to say his
Bernthal,
name.
yeah.
Coming back as the Punisher. It's finally going to happen. Man, that's the most visceral Punisher I've seen. Like his
So
portrayal is so good.
hmm So here's a little bit for you, man. After I do this podcast, me and my roommate are going to finish season 2 because I hadn't seen it all yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like 3 episodes away. So I'm like, I'm on edge, dude. I can't wait to see the finale of it. But dude, him coming back, hopefully with Daredevil,
Yeah.
Born Again, like I think that's gonna be awesome, man. I really
Yeah. I'm
do. I
excited for
think
that too.
I fell off of the whole like superhero craze for a while, man. Like for the
There
last two
is
years.
there is definitely burnout. Like I watched the Marvels yesterday and so I don't like Brie Larson,
Nah, yeah.
but as far as the movie goes, it was better than what people were saying. It still wasn't real great either. But there needs to be a nice long break
There does, man. And
for these Marvel movies,
I,
with the exception of Deadpool 3. I'm going to watch that no matter what, right?
oh yeah. And it comes out
But
on my birthday, dude. Like perfect.
that's lucky.
Right?
So Yeah, they definitely need to step away from this freaking superhero phase that they're doing in Hollywood of just there's way too many movies right now for that stuff. Like
Hmm.
get back to doing original works and stuff. And I mean, I'm okay. I don't mind like adaptions from books and such. Like that's fine, but I want to see original screenwriting come back.
Yeah,
That's kind of died off.
it
And it's
has. It reboots and everything else has
yeah, it's
taken
the
its
age of
place
yeah, it's the age of reboots and remakes anymore.
because it's like they just came out with what a brand new Color Purple, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what? Like, I mean, I
yeah,
hear it's great. It's not particularly in my taste, but it's like, why? Why can't
yeah.
you write something?
My wife's the same way. She just recently watched the original, and then she was thinking about checking out because I think this new one I think is actually a show if I remember right,
Oh,
isn't
is
it?
it okay? I
I think
thought
I think it's like a TV show format.
okay.
So I'm the same way as you with that. I've never really been interested to watch the original or check it out, but uh Masters of the Air though, as far as like newer shows, I actually like that one quite a bit. It's pretty good.
I need to watch that.
Uh,
I've heard really good things about that, and then
it's
because
pretty
it's
good.
Apple, right? Apple
Yeah, it's
TV.
Apple.
I
Yeah.
need to watch that and Monarch.
Yeah. I ended up liking Monarch, but this was intentional, and it won't really spoil anything for you, but the monsters part of that title of the show, they're in there, but that's not the focus of the show
It's like the
necessarily.
humanity
Right.
aspect.
So as long as you go into it with that in mind, you're gonna probably end up coming out the other side of the episodes enjoying what you watched because
Okay.
it's a lot of character development, it's a lot of backstory that takes place and hopping around in like timeline and stuff like that that goes throughout the show. But it's worth watching for sure. They need to let loose that newest Godzilla that aired across in was it Japan or China?
Oh,
Shin God
minus
or
one.
-1. I want to see that. I've heard it is just like awesome.
It.
So
I don't want to say anything because I did see it.
yeah.
But it depends for me, like what your version of Godzilla is. Do you love the Toho version of Godzilla?
I don't know. I don't actually think I got the opinion for that because, like, I've seen Godzilla where he's like the villain and just out just on killing sprees. I've seen the Godzilla that's like a savior for humanity in a sense. I've seen the Godzilla who's like not really care this way or the next, kind of way of how he's interpreted. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a preference for my Godzilla. I just like the character.
Then you'll love it. Me
Yeah.
personally, I was more into, and I'm not a Godzilla purist, so I can catch hate for this, I know, because I already have in my personal life. But I was more a fan of like what Universal Pictures did with Godzilla versus, you know. But
Did you what that's the one where with the three part, right? For
yeah,
Universal Pictures?
yep.
Okay, good. Cuz I always like to ask people, what'd you think of Godzilla 2000? Like
Okay. I mean, um it exists.
yeah.
It is definitely a thing that happened.
So at the
Um
time, go ahead.
at the time, like it's weird to think that that was cutting edge, right? Like I
Yeah.
mean, the graphics that are there now, they don't really hold up. Like I'll be
No.
honest, but
Mm.
it's also so cheesy. I think it's good.
Yeah, like I remember when it came out, I thought it was like this is so cool. But I think the most recent time I watched it was maybe around 2016, maybe. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, man, I remember thinking that Godzilla was just massive. But now it's like you see him and you think about the one in the most recent movies, and it's like he'd be squished under his foot, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And also I didn't really care for like that iguana-esque kind of like
The
portrayal of him either.
yeah, I
Like I'm like, he's not an iguana. Like he's not. any specific kind of reptile. He's Godzilla. You know,
Hmm.
he's not a race of reptile because he is basically the only one,
Yeah.
you know, of his kind. Or is he? Because you know
I
those
mean,
are, you know, the ones where he has a son and
I
like these
know,
little.
or
It's like, wait,
everything
how did
else.
that happen? Like, can he reproduce on his own or something or what? You know?
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
-1, I think you'll enjoy it, man. Just from what you're talking about with your Godzilla, I think you'll really enjoy it. For me, I've always just preferred the more uh big, boisterous
Yeah,
Godzilla, for my own opinion. Um, I actually really loved Godzilla versus Kong.
yeah,
Like
I thought it was good.
I thought it
Yeah,
was pretty good. Um, but aside from that, man, the last really good movie I think I watched was Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
yeah, I had my issues with that one. Like, I enjoyed it, but I also was like, so I watched Beast Wars. I
Hmm.
watched that when I was in like grade school. Um, and that was kind of what they were trying to do with this. Like, and then when I sat down, and this it's a mistake I made of having that preconceived or that already established um memory or knowledge of what it is they were doing in that movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, let's see how they replicate that. And then when it came out, I'm like, yeah, that's not real. Like, it was fine, but I just like, I'm like, I shouldn't have. I almost wished I didn't see Beast Wars because I feel like if I didn't, maybe I would have walked away from that movie liking it a lot more and spending less time analyzing it
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
being like, gonna hold on a minute here, you know, less of that.
I do that with comic book movies too, which is why I try not to watch trailers for them anymore because I'm a big comic book fan. So it's like, well, they're not going to follow this story, so screw it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Hollywood though. Like they don't seem to understand that there's things that you don't change just because you think it'll bring in more money in the theaters if you do this that way in the story or do this with the character opposite of what they are in like the book that they're from or the comic or you know whatever or
Yeah.
like you know it's just that's Hollywood though.
Did and I'll do a side tangent for a minute, and then I'll let you go because I know it's getting later. But did you ever play any of the Telltale games?
I tried. I just couldn't. I didn't really add an odd format to me.
Yeah.
Those games, like the only one I ever tried, I think, was the Wolf one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they came out with a Batman one as well. And my thing has always been like for comic book creators and everything else, like why not do an episodic game like that based around the comics that you're producing now?
Oh,
Like you'd make a killing off of it. Instead, we got freaking Suicide Squad kills the Justice League and all.
yeah. I've heard that was a letdown.
You just yeah. But no, I digress, and I know it's getting a little bit later, man.
Yeah, it's all right. But well, in closing, is there anything for Six Scars? Have you had any like early plans for what might be next? And for Killbait, because I think you did say that original music is going to be soon with Killbait
Yeah,
Overdose.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, with Six Scars, what might be next for people to look forward to, and then same with Killbait.
So with Six Scars, I kind of got I got a full calendar for it, but it's just finding the time, money, resources, all that to do it. But I have a track that I have not spoken about yet, but I'll make it public now. It is a track that I'm doing with Melanie Nix from the Nexus podcast. I love her to pieces. Um, it's gonna be in like a retro wave style. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So a big departure. You know, it's me outside my comfort zone, but just having fun with it. Aside from that, I got something dropping with Steve coming soon. Um, so stay tuned on that one. Like that should be within the next month or so. I'm hoping to get that one out. And also, you know, I have my other album, Desecration's Requiem. It's the more, I guess, new metalish hard rock sound. Because you know, I feel like you do. I think shoegaze does suit me more, but there's still that itch. It's just there's that itch to diversify yourself.
Uh,
But yeah, after that, I am hoping to get some more music videos put out. I record everything by myself. I don't have a crew or anything, so it's really difficult to just like take one shot and make a video out of it, you know. It's like, but um, and then as far as Killbait goes, we have right now. I'm trying to, I don't want to speak for the band or anything like that, but we have 7 tracks and only we're getting ready, hopefully soon, if schedules line up and everything, we'll be recording them and getting them put out. Um, I've recently been trying to take more footage for the Facebook, trying to get us out there a little bit more, gotten well received from everybody. So I mean, we're really looking forward to hopefully doing some shows this year. Getting out there and you know, hopefully rocking some people's faces, you know, like that's my goal, man.
you'll do it.
I hope so.
Yeah, you'll do it. Even if it's only two shows of the year, you'll
Yeah,
do it.
that's all I
That's
want, dude.
that's exciting. It sounds like a full plate. I really want to hear that new metal hard rock venture. That's gonna be I think another journey in itself. I'm already imagining in my head, like breakdowns in some sense, or like maybe some scatting.
I have tried so hard to be able to do that with a straight
Yeah,
face, and I'm like,
it's
I
hard.
can't. Like,
Yeah. So no, um, yeah, I think this was a nice full rounded session, I guess you'd call it.
yeah,
Good stuff. Um, yeah. Anything else you want to add?
just thank you, man. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me on. We've been trying to do this for a while now, you know, a little bit of inside baseball there, but it's like I'm really glad everything added up to it, and I hope people give the album a chance. It's called. I don't think we've actually mentioned the name of it, which is on me.
Oh yeah.
No, it's on me, dude. Like I'm over here self-promoting and I'm the worst at it, dude. But
Yeah.
The Silence and the Withering. It comes out the 16th of this month, and it's really only going to take about 30 to 35 minutes of your time, but there's definitely a deep, in my opinion, a very deep story that's being told on it. And I just hope they give it a chance, man. And at the end of the day, you know, I hope it helps them see things maybe in a different way.
Same. All right. Well, I think that about does it. Let's do this again. Either yours or mine,
Yes,
or or maybe a triple head, or who knows?
dude. So real quick, and then I got a double header next week or
Yeah.
tomorrow. Tomorrow. What am I talking about, dude? I'm booked
Yeah.
up from like 6 to like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'm
Whew.
killing myself here.
Yeah. Workaholic.
I really am, dude. Idle hands though.
Yeah. I do the same thing with mine. I'm already trying to book one with Kevin from Trust Company. So it's like, uh,
Oh,
yeah, my little brother hit me up in Messenger yesterday and said, "Hey, you know a band that I've been thinking of that I think would be really awesome that you could try and do one with?" He's like, "Trust Company," and I'm like, "Well, they're already back and they're doing shows." He's like, "Wait, what?"
yeah. I saw them.
Yeah,
I saw them at Barfest.
yeah, yeah. Or fast. So yeah, we'll see if that one comes fruition.
Hell yeah, dude.
So
I'm proud of you, man. This has been killer.
yeah, I agree. I'm loving it. It's been fulfilling for
That's
sure.
that's what matters too. Like
Yeah.
if it doesn't feel like work.
No, not at all. Not at all like work. This is definitely a hobby passion project that's doing everything I hoped it would do for me. So
That's all you can ask for, dude.
yeah. Yeah, I'll see you on the flip side. Um, be well, take care of yourself, and reach out for anything you might need.
I will, man. Same to you.
All right. Take it easy.